Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, on the second day of the AF Weekender. We have 4 sessions lined up today with some very interesting speakers. The first session today is Collecting in 2020 and Onwards, and is with Aditya Mehta and Farah Siddiqui Khan. We're both here already. Thank you so much, Farah and Aditya, for joining us. A lot of young people want to buy and collect art, but don't know where to start. And how to go about the process, and the pandemic has made us all look to the digital. Also, a new crop of digital platforms now act as an access point and a community for artists. And in addition to this, our speakers will also be telling us a lot about their journey. Just a little bit about both of our speakers today. Farah is an art consultant, curator, and has managed significant collections of art. Under the patronage of His Royal Highness Prince Charles, she curated Elephant Parade, which is the largest public art project in India till date. She has since started Cultivate Art Global, a platform aimed at building a roster of emerging artists and connecting them with collectors. Aditya is the founder of Art&Found and has been featured on CNBC, TV18, Tissot Innovators Club, and won the Hot 100 Tech Award for e-commerce. And since then, he has spoken at TEDx, Under 25 Summit, and Creative Mornings. Art&Found was one of the top 10 startups at the Wharton India Economic Forum and one of the 7 startups to go to Silicon Valley. So happy to have both of you here with us today. And I'm now going to hand this over to Farah.
Thanks, Nivedita, for the very kind introduction. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's having a wonderful weekend and enjoying the AF Weekender. I know I have. I'm really excited to speak about the new age, where digital world has taken over our art industry. So a little bit about myself. I've been maneuvering my way through the art world for the last 15 years. Wearing different hats at different points of time. I know a lot of my contemporaries have done the same. So I've, played the role of an art advisor, a curator, a consultant, and also a gallerist for a brief moment of time. When I began my career, I wanted to combine my knowledge of business acumen with my interest and love for the arts. I established myself in the art world by introducing a number of collectors to private works of art, through attending and hosting art events. And ultimately, I had a brief gallery space in 2008-9, where I showed contemporary Pakistani art. The focus of the gallery was contemporary Pakistani art. The time when I launched my career, it was very interesting. It was one of the most fertile grounds for the art and industry, and galleries were flourishing. A lot of the now very well established galleries were also starting out, and there was a great sense of camaraderie between all of us, and between the fractions of the art world. And then shortly afterwards, in 2008, with the tanking of Lehman Brothers and the financial crisis, coupled with the attacks in Mumbai, there was sort of a loss of morale for a while. And that's when sort of I moved and closed my brick and mortar space and started thinking of new ways of presenting art. And that's when sort of I went through the idea of looking at the internet and a digital platform, because previous to that, I was sort of born and raised in a way which is a little bit old school. And so I always thought that, this brick and mortar space is extremely important. And this is only in 2008 that one realized that it's not essential. So looking back at my experiences with art, it began fairly young with my mother, who's been an art enthusiast. And she was very adamant in fostering a sense of aesthetic in me from a very young age. And when planning a trip or, a holiday, it would be centered around visiting a museum or a gallery, going to see an established artist exhibition, or it could be discovering a quaint unknown artist. So that was sort of my introduction to the art world. And, I can remember some of the most educational and incredible exhibitions that I've attended, from 25 years ago. And, I give her the complete credit for initiating me in this world at a very young age. But what was common between all these experiences is that they were very physical, in physical spaces. So the art world for me was always where there was constant activity in terms of events, interaction, viewing of artworks, travel. And, this is what has been my sort of benchmark, of whether you're going to see a painting or an auction or whatever. Everything was live. And with the arrival of the pandemic, the art market came to a grounding halt, and the outlook was so grim right at the beginning. And this 2020 really took away the physicality of interacting in the art world. The socializing, the gossiping, the all of that kind of experiencing art in a physical space came to such an astonishing halt. And it's taken a long time for a lot of us in the industry to adjust to it. But I wouldn't say completely a long time, but I think it was also quite like there were a lot of things that were happening parallelly. Like, for example, we've already had the first auction house in India, Saffron Art, which was about 20 years ago, and they started with an online presence. So it's not that the art world has been completely secluded from having an online presence. We were always there, but I think that they just upped the ante, and a lot of the galleries, the viewing rooms, or the OVRs, the art fairs, which was really how the art collectors and the people in the industry, mark their calendars through the year, are now meeting on OVRs, or actually not even meeting, just experiencing art in a very different way. So it's quite interesting to see how quickly the establishments have taken to the internet and formed their own platforms and revamped their existing platforms. And it's interesting to see that there were collectors waiting on the sidelines who finally had the time to fuel their passion. And then there were also others who were new collectors. So now the challenge will be basically maintaining the interest of the seasoned buyers and the newbies through the course of the pandemic, which is still on, and beyond. One of my favorite sort of quotes that came about during the pandemic, and I also posted it, is that try and spend your quarantine without music, art, poetry. And that was sort of a very interesting reflection on what art means to everyone. It is actually an essential commodity. And, you could argue how you could compare it to something like food and water, but a piece of art which specially fits your taste and aesthetic can really be restorative to one's mental health being. And I think 2020 sort of brought about this, where people had the time and inclination to look at their spaces, to look at what they have collected, and what it really means to them, what objects mean to them, and how do they bring a sense of calmness or a sense of value to their lives. And months of spending indoors have really taken a lot of a toll over people. And I think art has helped in many ways to overcome that sort of isolation and seclusion. We have a lot to thank to the internet for that, and the online viewing rooms, and our colleagues in the business. So there is a preconceived notion about art collectors, which is a real myth. It's about that you have to have a certain amount of wealth when you want to start collecting art. And there is a blossoming community of talented and rising artists that sort of blurs this chasm amongst different sections of society. And in the light of the pandemic, actually, I found a wonderful person to come and work with me, who is, all of 23 and extremely enthusiastic. And I found a lot of myself in her when I started. So, immediately the perfect fit. And we started an initiative called Cultivate Art in 2018, where we again wanted to do pop-up exhibitions. We felt that, exhibitions for over 2-3 weeks were just prolonged and just dragging. And the initiative was to really just do exhibitions over a weekend and, have as many people come that, and also pop up in different spaces. So Cultivate main aim was to pop up in like an architecture studio. Then we did one at Clark House Initiative in 2018. So we had these pop-ups in different spaces. So I found a perfect person to come and work with me during the pandemic, and we relaunched Cultivate Art in a more digital avatar. So we took to Instagram, which is our main platform, and our website, and we are doing short exhibitions with shorter formats. So not doing large solo exhibitions, but we are showing a couple of works of of art every 2 to 3 weeks. So sort of keeping it very fresh, because we found that there were a lot of artists who also had to give up their studio space. Now, artists must work in a studio. It's very difficult to manage your home and studio space, especially in the financial crisis of the pandemic. So we also found that this was a good platform for artists, to be able to showcase their work who don't have a presence. I think it's important for artists to have a digital presence, but when it's all on one platform, it's easier for collectors to also take a look at it. So I think that one of the other things that we initiated within Cultivate Art is the garage space, which we have also partnered with our friend Amit Kumar Jain, who's a curator. And this is a space in NCR where we are inviting artists to give us their sort of idea of using a space which is only about 200 square feet, but it's local bound. And again, we are going to pop up this residency project in different cities wherever we have friends who are offering a space to have these residencies, because we found that a lot of artists have lost their physical space to work out of. So, what I find very interesting is that there are all these auctions that are happening. And, most recently, the second most expensive painting sold at Sotheby's, which was a 94 million, I think, a Botticelli, and it's making headlines across the world. But, one thing is for certain, that while mega galleries and mega auction houses have been able to ride this wave, there are also mid-sized galleries which have closed down across the world. And a lot of people have lost their livelihoods and their jobs because, for example, the art fair engaged so many people. It had art handlers and shippers, and so many people are engaged in the art business that, there is one side where the auction houses are making the mega bucks, and that's what the news is all about. But we have to also understand that this is a fairly large industry with a lot of younger, upcoming talent, whether it's young gallerists and young curators, young writers, who all are a part of this ecosystem and who have had, have to take a seat back because of this. So I think that this is the moment where, the younger generation of the players in the art market have to be supporting each other and the ecosystem and finding out new ways of working and experiencing art and helping each other. Because, in terms of price points, I feel that my collectors are willing to purchase online without having seen the artwork up to a certain mark. But when there is above that figure, there's a certain amount of resistance. So let's say at $100,000 mark, you have to have a physical viewing, a condition report, a little bit of an understanding of where the pieces come from, the authenticity, the provenance. So all of that. So, for example, when these news items come out that 94 million for the Botticelli, it's not that somebody just picked up the phone and bid online or just went on the internet and pressed 94. There is an entire machinery that goes behind this network. This auction must have been prepared at least a year in advance. There must have been mega collectors from across the world, from Japan to New York. Maybe this work of art must have been flown to a couple of places in the world. So it's not that it's just going to be that somebody at a click of a button is spending 94 million. There is an entire machinery behind it. So, at this phase of my life, I'm actually quite interested and reflective upon the idea of what is next. How is the art industry going to change? With Cultivate, we are planning to gradually harbor a vested interest in collecting among a younger generation, many of whom are confused where to actually start buying. And so I feel that, although the art world is or getting more democratic and more global. So I mean, it is going to be interesting to see how in the future, are there still going to be art fairs? Are there still, I mean, are these sort of preconceived ideas of what art dealers should do and have been doing, are they going to sort of carry forward? There's also a reversal of the way presentations are, because at one point of time it was more about the object and then the digital presentation came later. Now actually it's more about the digital presentation and rather than viewing the object in person. So that's interesting to see the reversal, and I'm seeing that in my own sort of 15 years of art career. So once, which was an intimate industry with different doors to open, I think the internet has sort of brought about this very democratic and very inclusive way of seeing and experiencing art. So I think that the landscape is changing completely. Collectors are being much more open. Even older collectors who are not so familiar with technology and with or the comfort level has increased, or it has sort of forced us to increase. I think it's not that until the early part of 2020, there were still auctions happening, and there was still the art fair happened this year. I mean, last year in 2020, it's unbelievable to think that there was the art fair in Delhi. So, I mean, what would be interesting for me and for, I think, my contemporaries is to see how is it going to pan out in the next coming year. How is the pandemic actually going to make a mark in the art world? Because at the moment, it sort of seems that it is looking like the strength is back in the art world, and I'm very glad for that. So.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Farah. We will have questions for you later. Moving on to Aditya. Aditya, I think you wanted to share something with us. So.
Yeah, thanks, Niveta. That was great, Farah. It really gave an insight into a very different sphere of the art world for me, and would love to connect after to understand more about it.
Absolutely.
So, hi everyone. I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview of how and why Art&Found started. and then I'll quickly move on to showing some of the work that we've done. And so I started this platform because I wanted to give artists, designers, illustrators, photographers a space to be able to sell their work, and for millennials like myself to be able to afford art. So the idea was to make art accessible in one line, and building a platform seemed to be the most feasible way to go about it. And since October 2016 till today, we've been able to not only bank on the platform, which is the marketplace for artists, for affordable art, and also, extend the service of curation for consumers across sectors, be it hospitality, residential, commercial, real estate, and co-working spaces as well. So what started happening is I started building a repository of artists in India, and made it very easy for them to be able to use the platform to sell their work. And today we ship worldwide, and curation is an extension of what we provide as well. There's also, interestingly, a third vertical that came out of Art&Found, because what happened is, when we started putting up a lot of this art, or engaging with audience on Instagram, we started seeing that brands wanted to get on this, and this is something I'll speak about a little later. But there's this whole phenomena or wave of brand and artist collaboration, which has been popular in the West and also in China, and it's picking up here. And we've been happy to have the opportunity to work with some of the coolest brands to be able to put that out. And I'll show some more stuff on that in a bit. But yeah, just picking up from what Farah was saying, it's interesting that during 2020, because we're primarily in the e-commerce space, where it's easy for consumers to go online and pick up affordable art. And while we're driving the affordable art movement, once the pandemic hit, logistics and e-commerce tanked everywhere. But I think once things started picking up, that's when the ball started rolling. And I think because people were at home, they wanted to do up their spaces. Logistics was still very challenging, but I think it really gave us an insight into where all the brand can reach, and what we're doing is also very universal. It relates to consumers worldwide. We're not just curating very Indian art. Visually, it's appealing to anyone who sits in US, Australia. I mean, just before this session started, we got an order from Australia, and I think it's about scale as to where the brand can reach. And our mission still remains the same, to drive the affordable art movement. It starts from India, but sure, you want to move to Asia Pac and then global, to be able to become that Indian art brand, that's known for creating a global affordable art movement, if I had to sum it up in one line. So it all does come down to accessibility. And talking about the pandemic again, when things started picking up, sites started picking up again, we also started experimenting a lot on engagement. We started building projects internally. I'll show you some of them later. And I think that really gave us an idea of how large the space can be. It's all about, putting your brand out there and, market penetration and awareness of your brand. And then it just resonates to individuals worldwide who are, art lovers. And what happened is that we started seeing that, it's something that that's universal, for users, and that's the beauty of art, right? That I mean, you start somewhere, but then as the word gets out, it's relatable to everyone. It's very different from like a product or a service. But sorry, can you hear me? I just think I lost my AirPods connection. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can hear me, yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I think battery on the AirPods. Anyway, so yeah, that was an interesting thing that happened during pandemic. That's when we saw orders spiking because people were at home and they wanted to do up their spaces, and then art curation and consultancy started picking up. We also did another collaboration. I mean, I loved going to art fairs and shows and design shows, and unfortunately that wasn't happening. But I think there is some power to reaching consumers and access when you're online, and that's what we were able to see, the power of scale there. So let me just show you some of the work, and yeah, can you see my screen? Okay, great. So yeah, as I said, Art&Found is into everything art, from shipping out worldwide to styling spaces, and also doing epic artist brand collaborations. So we uncomplicate art while making it accessible. And I'd like to show you some work from the spaces that we've styled with art, and also maybe some of the projects that we've done. So one of the biggest projects that we had very early on was for WeWork, when they were opening up their flagship hub in Bangalore and also in Bombay. And when they launched, they wanted their hubs to be filled with art, to complement a truly global co-working space and experience that startups, freelancers, companies, individuals were about to experience. So Art&Found, along with their product team, curated more than 200 artworks across various styles: collage, minimal, typography, photography. And when I show you the work, it'll give you an idea of what kind of work this is. Like, I keep talking about affordable art movement, but looking at the work will also give you an idea of maybe visually this isn't art, or maybe wasn't perceived as. But I think that's where it becomes interesting, that anything can be art. And then what is the consumer and audience relating to? So there's this different kind of work, and we have more than 500 artists on the platform, so you can see it's very varied in terms of style, very graphic as well. When we're also doing spaces, though, we do customize a lot of work. We also get into a lot of original art, because it needs to be in tune with a company's culture or brand values. I'll show you a project, where it delves into that. So yeah, I think one of the key features about Art&Found was that it was also an invite-only platform, because I wanted to keep it curated and invite-only. And I think that really built a value proposition for what Art&Found was and is still today. From day zero, I wanted to keep a invite-only feature, and that already set a level of curation. So yes, as you can imagine, for any young entrepreneur, what a huge project this would have been in the first year of launch. And we just went all out and filled up the walls. And since then, we've done a couple of more co-working spaces. We just did one with a co-working real estate partner who's getting into co-working spaces in Pune. Um, give you an example of hand-painted wall murals. So this is Indeed.com headquarters in Hyderabad. We did this in collaboration with M. Moser and Associates. They approached Art&Found to create hand-painted and mixed media murals at the Indeed.com office. So we work very closely with the M. Moser team and also Indeed.com New York. And we finalized a minimal design, keeping in mind Indeed.com's brand and color palette. So what we also do is get local artists, I mean, at least we try to, like, if I have a project in Hyderabad, I'll try and get, somebody in Hyderabad to come in and, do the work. Because essentially what we're also doing, apart from, the platform, the curation aspect of it is job creation, right? I love commissioning artists, and where we come in, our expertise lies in, briefing, curation, artist management, down to even concept development, feedback iteration, and production delivery. So this is a really cool project, really wide, 30 feet wide walls, total area of 350 square feet. That, we were just happy to do some really cool abstract geometric work. And, you don't get to do this kind of work very often in India, but we're just incredibly grateful to have clients that can give us the opportunity to explore, styles. This is entirely different for Azure Hospitality, Foxtrot, for their space, their bar and restaurant in Gurgaon. So as you can see, this was a very different Berlin underground graffiti style. It took a lot of work. All these elements were individually sourced, pieced out, and then also the phrases and everything. There's a lot of planning actually that went into the chaos that you see in front of you. And we commissioned an artist in the NCR region to go in and do this. So this was a really cool project. And I'll show you one that has a lot of mixed media as well. So this was for Jam8, which is Preetham, the music director, his academy. So this is in Bombay and Andheri. And we wanted to understand the requirement of the space. And I mean, it's a music academy, right? So you have to have fun with it, and you're gonna get all sorts of people, directors, musicians, actors coming in, and you want to create that vibrancy in the space. So we sat with them, and after initial concept work, we created a series of custom-made artworks, and also commissioned mural artists and installation artists, and basically had to create a really cool vibe for the coolest music academy in Bombay. We had a lot of these walls on which we could arrange framed art, and also do some murals for the open spaces, the canteen, lobbies. We put in some framed works. We also flew down an artist from Bangalore to do a mural. So on the right side, not sure if you can see, but it's basically a gorilla, and a mural that you can only tell from two vantage points, like the other side and like from this side as you walk past. We also did a lot of tape art and vinyl art, cut out laser cut icons from the industry, R.D. Burman, Zakir Hussain, Bob Dylan. This is made out of tape. So we used tape, as I spoke a little bit before about how every space is different, and you need to understand, what the vibe and what's the culture and everything about the space that needs to bring out a story, right? Essentially. So this was made out of tape, and we created characters, icons from the music industry. On the right, you can see this is all cassette tapes that formed a mural, boombox. This is something that Preetham personally wanted, like a truck with all the speakers. It's very Preetham actually. His music. Lift, why not? Let's fill up every spot. So on lifts, we created these artworks, and also commissioned an artist to do an installation. Let me see. Oh yeah, this is a close-up of the tape art. This is an artist, Indian artist from Berlin, actually. So, I started the platform for Indian artists, but why stop at India, right? Like, my focus is on driving, the Indian art movement in the affordable art space, but, our artists are all over the world. So my focus is on Indian artists in India, but also, Indian artists abroad. And, my next phase is to expand it to Southeast Asian artists, because there's some incredible work happening, in Singapore, Malaysia, and in Asia, and even Southeast Asian countries, more Southeast Asian countries. I mean, we commissioned an artist to do an installation as instruments, and that turned out really well. We had no idea how it would turn out, but I mean, it looks antique piece, that collector's item, and this went into their lounge. This was mixed media piece that we created, again, icons, and yep, this was stuff that literally we went down to Chor Bazaar, picked up vinyls and vinyl covers, album covers, and just put it together. So yeah, this space gave us a lot of opportunity to experiment with various mediums and materials. Before WeWork happened, we actually did a small co-working space here, mid to small, I would say, not small. And this gave me an opportunity to actually go back to my creative days at Ogilvy and Mehta. I was an art director there, and I started Art&Found as a side project there. And at Ogilvy, I used to love doing art direction, but also writing lines. And this gave me the opportunity to do that, with my team. And we basically wanted to create something in the form of murals on walls to sort of create this blunt voice, in a very visually playful and bold manner, to let the walls do the talking, because people don't really get honest feedback or mentorship, especially freelancers and entrepreneurs. So I spoke to startup founders. This one's daddy is your angel investor. My grandma can sell better. Look left, look right. Only one of you will make it. So very brutal, very Nike, Under Armour sort of tone. Start unknown, finish unforgettable. Co-founders wanted, this was a wall, like literally you could just go and drop your card and pick up the card that you want. We had bowls, designers, marketers, writers, sales, and yeah, bunch of frames and typography and all of that. Let me move on to another vertical that is really hot space right now. So this is the whole artist brand collaboration scene, and we'll start with Levi's office space. So this is a Southeast Asia, Middle East, North Africa headquarters of Levi's in Bangalore, and the idea was to bring out the essence of the Semina region, art for their office. And I mean, we went all out. Custom handmade art from upcycled denim, techniques of shishiko, shibori, embroidery, bringing out the brand's heritage with iconic images of Levi's, trucker jacket, Taiwan denim jeans. I think I should stop talking and just get into it to show you the work. But yeah, these are trucker jackets of Levi's that we commission artists, to use it as self-expression and bring out the best work. So this is a hand-painted truck art. There were classic 501 denim jeans that we gave and commissioned artists across the country to, bring out embellishments, embroidery, all sorts of stuff, mixed media, patchwork, ikat and zari, typography as well, hand painted. There was a Shishiko Shibori. Sorry, my connection runs to I think it's fine. Back on. Yeah. A lot of patchwork and applique and embroidery using, upcycled denim, scrap denim. You can see detail. There's also a typography wall that we created that resonated with Levi's brand values in a really cool way, though, making iconography and almost logos out of everything that they stood for. And this wall pretty much happens across all their offices, across the world. But if you can see, there is a lot of Devanagari and a bit of Hindi in there, and that's what sets it apart locally, to create that in the space. This is a really large one, 10 feet high, and yeah, about 8 feet wide. Again, patchwork, applique, and embroidery work. And this was a hand-painted mural under a staircase spot by Aravani Art Project, which is an artist collective in Bangalore for transgender women and who are also artists themselves. So this was in Kannada, and again, creating something local that brings out our richness and culture. And just like I look at these projects, and it just reminds me of why I started Art&Found. The larger mission here is to increase the value of art and design in India, but also globally, right? We have to celebrate what we have, and if we do that with the projects that we can, that's the whole bigger picture here. This says Samanata Ellarigu, which is equality for all. I hope I pronounced that properly. Mural capturing people and culture of the Semina region. This is a mishmash of cultures, people, food, everything that basically brought out the space in a more authentic manner, or at least the region that they're on. So there's some more work. I'm just gonna quickly skim through. I was speaking about the iconic images that Levi's has of miners. I mean, this is the Berlin Wall, actually. This is the fall of the Berlin Wall, and why denim was part of a big movement back then, and a symbol of rebellion. And we took these images and created embroidery work on it. So I commissioned an artist in Ahmedabad to do this. The same artist also did, the Shishiko Shibori. This is very close to my heart. This is the India Truckers Jacket series, which we internally did. This wasn't even part of the plan, but we got so excited with this whole project that we actually created 7 jackets. So this was done by team member Megha, and she literally just went all over the country, and specifically also in Jaipur, to bring out, showcase the best work from every region, the folk art, So this one's, from Mirzapur and Badawi, and the material is Duri, so showcasing, the hand-woven traditional work, intricate paisley motifs, and yeah, I'm just gonna go through it quickly. This is Srinagar, Kashmir, material of Pashmina, and yeah, just showing scenes, beauty inspired by nature, and the shikara boat ride. Um, this is Jaipur, Rajasthan, Bandhani, set against the backdrop of the Pushkar Mela, showcasing camels and the mustache. Jaipur arches shows. Um, this is Ahmedabad, Gujarat, Kutch, celebrating the kite flying festival, playing dandiya as well, and Chennai, Tamil Nadu, silk jacket inspired by the Bharatanatyam, and yeah, it's love for yellow gold, Mysore silk, and Banaras material zari, celebrating an Indian grand wedding, straight out of Banaras, tribal art, uh, and using barley, ivory beads, sticks, stones, feathers, everything stitched on into a work of art. And yeah, this is what we're talking about, basically, to bring out our richness and heritage. And you can see how just on 7 jackets, it's celebrated, right? Um, and you put that on a Levi's trucker jacket, and you can see how how that blend of taking something that's really cool, but also putting it together with something that's really rooted, and result in something so beautiful. This was just an amphitheater that they had. Again, we did a lot of upcycle denim. This is also all done by my team member Meghna. So we do a lot of in-house work as well, because love sourcing and going around the country and doing bringing out some best work. Nimeta, do I have time for one more, or should we move on to the?
We've had about 12 questions come in,
okay.
and we have a conversation. So
cool. So
I hate to stop you, but
no, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Maybe very briefly.
Okay, maybe. All right. So, so this is the 501 Denim Jeans Class Exhibition project. This is to celebrate the birthday of the blue jean, and they do this across cities for Levi's. And Art&Found curated a list of artists, designers, typographers, doodlers, painters, poets, celebrity artists, stylists, fashion designers, everyone. Again, it's a curated list, so we are doing like solid research and looking at the techniques before bringing them on board. And we basically give these denims out to these artists and get them to express what they want in terms of what they stand for, what they believe in, and also use the technique that they are known for in the industry. So you can see, I'm just going to quickly skip through. There's about 20 of them, so it's going to be too much talking about everyone. But you can see visually how each piece is so unique, and they got about a week or 2 weeks to work on this, and you can see how much love that's poured into each denim. And then we shot videos and photos with everyone, flew around the country. There was a production team that went and then documented all of it. That was showcased on Levi's and Art&Found Instagram, and also made videos of it. This is Bobo Calcutta from the fashion industry, and yeah, this little Shilpa commissioned her to do one. She actually turned the denim jeans into a jacket. It's just ingenious. So, which could also be worn as, jeans. So yeah, a lot of fun, and we're just celebrating art. We're celebrating stories. Themes, universal themes, equality, sustainability. Um, uh, then it all goes on to actually celebrating the 501 day itself, which happens on 8th May. And, the best work, all the work actually gets put up for, people to come in and see. And we also have, live screen printing, heat press, and, in block printing on the day in a section called the tailor shop, which is basically a space where you can come in and get your t-shirt or jeans customized with art. And also we created some installations. Waterless is a huge project for Levi's globally, and there's an installation that entire they did that installation. Then sorry, yeah, I think it's not even loading. Okay, yeah, so 2018 is when we started this project. Yeah, again, I'm just going to quickly skim through it, so you can see the kind of work and various techniques. I think talks about how art it's so permeable to all sorts of mediums, right? And as well, it doesn't have to be just on canvas or digital. It can be on a denim, right? Sorry, I'm just through what I'll check later, maybe on that. So, yep, that's I think that's the best work that I'd love to show more, but it's just gonna go on.
Thank you so much, Aditya.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that.
I think we're losing you just a little bit. Thank you so much. And sorry, I'm cutting in, but we have about 15, 20 minutes for questions, and about 16 questions have come in. So I think we should maybe start. Do you guys want me to just pick up some questions and shoot them at you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the first question is for Farah. Farah, how do you think the pandemic has affected art collecting? And has the practice of online art collecting made a more positive impact? Or do you feel it has encouraged buyers more?
Yeah, so I don't know if the person was logged in earlier, but that's exactly what I spoke about, collecting in 2020. And that, yes, I think that there has been a shift in the way people were perceiving, collecting online. And I think that's sort of a positive direction. And also that I think that there will be a hybrid model in the future. It will be bricks and clicks, it'll be both. And I think that, as the world moves on, there'll be different ways of incorporating virtual reality, augmented reality, like I said, Instagram has changed the landscape from in the last 10 years. Providing real-time data on particular artists, on exhibitions, all this is going to, take a long, start almost in the next, you'll see this quite soon. Blockchain system has been also discussed as a technology. Cryptocurrency has been discussed. So, all these things will we will see it in our lifetimes for sure.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is for Aditya. Aditya, sorry, I cut you in the middle. Maybe you can, I think some people want to still see it. So they're asking in the Q&A where they can know more. So we will share your website in the chat. So the question is, Art&Found is very accommodating of the limitations faced by first-time art buyers. How do you make that choosing process easier?
So I think it's a mix of technology and service. So it's, product and service. So in terms of product, like it's about how you can enable tech if you have an online platform to be able to make it easy for, the consumers to buy art online. And if that means, working on details and nuances as to how you can show the artwork within a context, like, show it framed, unframed, with mount, without mount, color of the frame, show it, within a room. Can you take it further, and implement AI where you can, show it within your own room. And these are features, that since we've built the platform, you sort of like keep experimenting and see what works. And a lot of UI UX is actually, good design is empathy, right? If you can buy it, or if your grandmom can, look and buy and transact, and yeah, that's it. That's obviously an extreme analogy, but like, this is what, good design is. It's empathy. And if you understand that your product really well and your consumer really well, and you put the two together, then you will work on those nuances and details. The second part of it, the service, is that we figured that even if you build a platform and put up these thousands of artworks and keep it curated, people still want help selecting art. And that just became a natural form of Art&Found, where we started curating for spaces, understanding what their needs are, maybe personality, what their likes are, and then we're able to, earlier we used to go to a lot of spaces, but now we do it with simply like photos, renders of the space, wall dimensions, potentially any mood boards, and just put together a brilliant curation deck. So my team gets all the information, and maybe we do calls or whatever, and then that's a service that we provide as well. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is for Farah. Farah, what's your prediction on what the art market would look like, especially during and post-pandemic? And what advice do you have for the young generation, especially upcoming art advisors?
I love the young generation. I'm also very young. Let me say. Just to add. So yeah, I mean, post-pandemic world, or we are still in the pandemic, according to me. I think we've seen an amazing resurgence of the art world. It's really done phenomenally well with the numbers that we are seeing, both at auction houses and at galleries. We had a very, in Bombay, for example, a couple of weekends ago, we had the Mumbai Gallery Weekend, and it was a super success. And I'm so happy for my friends in the art world, all the gallerists. They opened the galleries after almost a year. So it was, I think that people have really taken time to think about what art can do to them, whether they can reflect on it, or whether it can enhance their space, or how it moves them and how it touches them. And I think 2020 really took that piece of sensibility out of them, So in a post-pandemic world, I think that things are going to become more interesting for the art world. I think a lot more people are interested in the arts. They've had the time to sort of fuel their passion, as I mentioned earlier. And I think there are a lot of younger people who do not want to wait till they hit a certain age. Like, I'll start buying art when I'm like 40, when I have certain amount of money in the bank. I think they want to live for today, and they want to sort of start acquiring young. And I think my advice to everyone is that, look at collectors for inspiration. My one of my favorite stories is of the Vogels, Dorothy and her Vogel. They're very inspiring American collectors. And when they married, I think they both used to work. And I think they decided that they would live off one salary, and the other salary they would start acquiring art. And they built one of the most phenomenal collections of, in the last 50 years, which they of course bequeathed it to a museum. And, they really were driven by passion. So I think for any collector, the key word here is passion. That, whatever you would like to buy, whatever kind of art you would like to acquire, whether it's a digital work of art, whether it's a photograph, whether it's a painting, whether it's just an object, a sculpture, the work of art should resonate with you, and, at any price point. There's no gatekeeper to tell you that this is art and this is not art, and this is the right art that you should buy, unless you are going to say that, I have $1 million to invest in art. That's a completely different story. But for young aspiring collectors, that, be true to what you like. And whether it's something which costs 25,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees, or, you can look at, we live in India and we have amazing tradition of tribal art. You can look at that. And I think 2020 has also softened us. So I think my advice to young collectors would be to support upcoming artists from your own generation, and, watch them grow. There's a great pleasure in doing that. I started collecting when I was, in my early 20s. And I see some of the artists have done phenomenally well, and their careers have taken off beautifully. And, I recently also acquired a work by a young artist from Chatterjee and Lal, the gallery. I'm so in love that the day I acquired the work, I looked like I was back in love, and it was the most amazing feeling. So my advice is to just go with what you think is art, and please do not listen to some gatekeepers of the art world. Believe in what you want. That's my advice.
Thank you, Farah. That was great. I think being passionate about what you want to buy is so important. So there's two questions here which are similar. So I'm going to ask you both of them together. Is how does a young person become a successful art dealer or advisor like you?
I think let Farah take that one.
Yeah, it is for you, Farah. You have.
I don't know what to find success. I've become a philosopher in 2020. I actually don't know what you mean by success. I think success for me is doing something every day that makes you happy, something that you want to, which sort of fuels your soul, something that I don't know what is the meaning of success, actually. And in the art world, as an art dealer, what is the benchmark? Is it money? Is it having your own gallery space? Is it, what is it? I don't know. I think for me, success is being happy in the kind of work that I'm doing, the kind of shows that I do. And that for me is success. So, everybody has to find their own success.
Farah, I think you're being very modest. So we are going to slip your email to these people who want a mentor.
Oh, sure.
On the side.
I'm very happy to mentor young people. Actually, I am Like I mentioned earlier, I have a wonderful 23-year-old girl who's working with me on Cultivate. And, she studied, I think, political science, politics in London, and then she's back here. And, we feed this energy off each other. We have more than a decade apart, 15 years apart, but this kind of young energy. So I'm very happy to meet young collectors, young artists. I feed off that. So please.
So I have a question for you both, since you brought up Cultivate, and Aditya, you said while you were speaking that it's every artist that you choose is curated. And I mean, this is for both of you as curating platforms. That could you maybe give us a little insight into what something like a platform like Cultivate or Art&Found can do for a young artist in this digital age, being a part of a larger community, like maybe an artist's trajectory or when they started out with a platform, and how being a part of its community can help them as opposed to going solo. This is for both of you. So whoever wants to take it up.
Nivedita, can you repeat the question, please?
So my question is that from an artist's perspective, with online, you can go solo as well, start your own Instagram account, have a website, have Behance, connect with collectors on your own. But what benefit does a platform like Cultivate Art or Art&Found, since Aditya also mentioned that Art&Found is curated, how does it support artists? So if you could give us some like trajectories where, just the way you spoke about your own trajectory from starting out at 23 with all the experience. So how does this community help the artists?
I think, let me quickly answer that. I feel that, yes, I think also being in the digital space will encourage the young artists to document their works nicely, So you must have a website, you must have your Instagram account. But I think there are many advantages of being on a platform like Aditya's or Cultivate Art, because we have a larger community, and we are trying to sort of also put together artists who have a conversation between them. There is a certain interest between the works. So I think that it's great to be solo, but if you do have an opportunity to be on any platform, I think it could be an interesting experiment to see how that can sort of help you. And as a curator, the curator sort of engages with you, so which also builds your work, and sort of gives you a positive or negative feedback, which you must be able to take as an artist. So yeah, I think that there are many advantages of being with a gallery or with a platform. You're engaging with a larger audience, obviously.
Yeah, I think just to pick up from what Farah said, it's about the community, right? You're essentially building a community. Like the seed idea of why I started Art&Found is because I wanted to build a platform for artists and for them to be able to showcase and sell their work. So that's just one part. And then, you are building the market as you're going, right? So you maybe start keeping in mind, the millennial art buyer. I mean, that's why I started thinking that millennials like myself could own art, that's affordable and gives access. I can go online and pick it up. Then you grow into the wider market, beyond individuals. You go into like sectors, corporate, residential, hospitality, co-working spaces. So I think it's about really knowing who you're creating this for. And then from there, just growing the market into like larger concentric circles, right? So you're building community on either side. One is for the artists and designers, and the other is for art collectors. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to move on to the next question, which is on pricing. I mean, either one of you could take it. It says Megha says pricing art is a big challenge for new artists. What's your suggestion for artists to keep their price consistent? That fits
This will
both with
take
the...
another session.
Okay.
Pricing is one of the most complicated factors in the art world. And, for younger artists, I think, I also see a lot of younger artists who are very ambitious with their pricing. But I think, this really needs another session. I mean, I'll be happy to consult artist friends, but it's a very long drawn answer.
Okay, Aditya, do you want to add to that, or we can move on to the next question?
Pricing, right? So pricing was very interesting when I started, because I started to make it affordable art. So the pricing has to be within a certain bracket. So it was a duality of controlling it within a price range. So artists could price their work from like a low, mid to high, but it was capped. I'm just trying to explain it in as simple way as possible without going into detail of it. But yes, there was a lot of number crunching, and essentially it's like, okay, would I buy this at this price? So I think it's interesting now that we're also expanding to original art, handmade art. Obviously the pricing goes slightly higher. Everything on Art&Found is within 2,000 to 20,000, and it's limited edition prints, archival. But now as we move on to handmade original works, we'll move on to higher ticket sizes, 30, 50, 60,000, but I still want to keep it affordable art.
Okay, thank you. We have questions for both of you asking about the artworks behind you. So Farah, do you want to tell us, and then we can go to Aditya?
Absolutely. This is actually a photograph, but it is actually a painted photograph by an artist we've done 2 exhibitions with, physical exhibitions. Revati Shahani, she's a London-based artist of Indian origin. And what she does is that she takes the negative and she paints on that. And then produces it in a photographic form. But so each time that this is produced, it changes, but it is an edition. And this is from her previous show. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Aditya, do you want to tell us?
It's my mom's art, actually. So she paints at home. She's not a gallery artist, but she just paints and she experiments with various medium. And yeah, this one's to do with gold and thread. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I think we have time for one last question, because our next session is going to start very soon. How do you ensure that artists that you commission are in tune with your ideas? Do you have an in-house team that helps them put their ideas onto the project?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think curation is the most important step in going about for projects like this. And I think it again comes down to that value proposition that I've built, which is curation, invite only. And I think that's also reflecting onto the collaborations that we do, because when we're working on an idea for a brand to create brand experience, we're curating the right kind of artist. So having that right artist to brand fit is incredibly important. To understand what we want to do, what medium, whether it's a product launch or digital campaign, what's the style, which artist. So there's a lot of that planning that goes into it. And then, it moves on to briefing, concept development, creative and art direction, and so on.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, everyone else. I know there are still 18 unanswered questions, but we will have to say no to these. And we've posted your websites on chat. So if someone wants to connect with you, they can, or you can DM us. And if Farah and Aditya are happy, we will connect you to them. But thank you so much for this conversation, Farah and Aditya, and for taking time out for Art Forward on a Saturday morning. And I'm sure that all the attendees they appreciate the takeaways from both of you. And thank you so much, everyone, for attending.